Okay, in this video we're going to cover crashing to desktop prior to the main menu during the quick test phase of installing your guide. We're not going to troubleshoot what happens after you reach the main menu. So these are the short steps. Later in the video I'll show you how to actually go through them all. First, you want to verify that you have no missing masters in Mod Organizer 2. Second, you want to verify that you can load a vanilla profile successfully. Third, ensure that you have no SKSE mismatch. 4, ensure that all of your LE BSAs are unpacked. 5, you want to make sure that you can load your game without any of the merges that you created, as well as associated missing masters. And finally, you're going to do a binary search to identify the problem mod. Okay, now I'm going to walk you through how to do all these things. Hopefully by this point you've installed all of your mods, you have ran loot, and made sure that your loot groups, your loot rules are all correct. Hopefully you've also come over to the Discord and used our load order bot Pelagius to verify that you actually have installed all of the plugins that you're supposed to. It doesn't actually verify that they're all in the correct order. You'll still need to run loot to do that, but it's a great tool to see whether or not you've missed anything or forgot to merge some of your plugins. And now what we're going to do is we are going to load up our game. So first thing we do is we go to make sure you're on your main profile, Lexy's LOTD, and you want to use the SKSE executable, that's the Skyrim script extender, and then you hit run. And you'll see Mod Organizer preparing the virtual file system and starting to load the game. If you've never loaded a game this heavily modded before, you may be surprised to find that it can take 2 to 3 minutes to load up your entire game. So just be patient, give it time, and hopefully you make it to the main menu. We'll find out here whether or not I did my install correctly. And you can see that it never even loads a black screen. MO2 just dumps back out of the unlocked phase, and so this is what it looks like. It's failed. So the way that you start to figure this out, the first thing you do is you look at this triangle up here in the right hand corner, and these are critical warnings, and you can see I have 3 of them, so I have to really address these before I'm going to be able to successfully load into my game. If you left click it, you'll see the different problems that we have listed here. So there are files in my overwrite mod directory. Usually this is an error that you might be able to ignore. I'm going to scroll all the way down in my left pane to the overwrite folder, and I'm going to double click it. And you'll see here there are some folders that are files that are written out of the virtual file system, and they just get dumped into overwrite. For the most part, these can be ignored. If you want, you can redirect these through the various programs into their own mods to keep your overwrite folder empty. I just tend to leave it there because it doesn't matter. So that oftentimes this is a safe error to ignore. I'm going to go back though to the warnings, and you'll see there are a couple that I do have to deal with. The first is missing masters. So if you're trying to load the game and a plugin needs a different plugin to be present and it's not, the game obviously isn't going to load. So when you're trying to resolve missing masters, there are a few things you have to do. First, make sure that all of the mods that you're supposed to have in the left pane are checked. And the only one that isn't supposed to be checked is this one, SSE Terrain Tamriel. That's used during generation of LODgen, Terrain LOD, and so you're going to leave that unchecked. Otherwise, if you want to enable everything, you can right-click in the left pane, go to All Mods, and choose Enable All Visible. So the other thing you want to do is make sure that all the plugins on the right side are activated. And you can do the same thing. You can right-click and choose Enable All. The missing master warning up here gives you more information to help figure it out. So it tells you that these are the masters that are missing. So the first one is keldnar.esp. So in the left pane, I'm going to look for keldnar. And you can see I have it active here in the left pane. That's good. Now I want to find it in the right pane, keldnar, and you can see I forgot to check it. So I'm going to check it. Done. And when you go back to your missing masters warning, you see that it's now gone. So it's no longer missing. I also have forgotten to check the unofficial Skyrim Special Edition patch. And so if I clear my filters and look here in the right pane, you can see there are warnings for missing masters all throughout my right pane. Every plugin that requires the USSEP is saying, hey, I can't find it. So again, I'm going to look in my left pane, and you can see this time I forgot to check it in the left pane, unofficial Skyrim Special Edition patch. And when I check it, the warning drops by 1. And I now no longer have those warning flags in my right pane saying missing masters, and when I open it up, the missing masters warning goes away. Okay, so we fixed that problem. But you can see that I also have another problem. There are scripts, there are plugins that are being reported as incompatible by the Skyrim script extender. So when you look at this, the SKSE is game version specific. So at the time of making this video, Skyrim SSE, Skyrim SE is version 1.5.97. The SKSE version that goes with it is 2.0.17. And if you have the wrong versions, the game isn't going to load. Hopefully you've installed the right version of SKSE, otherwise you wouldn't have gotten this far in the guide. It has you tests that you can load through SKSE right at the very beginning. But it's possible that you didn't install the SKSE scripts correctly. You can see them here. It turns out that I did, and hopefully if you followed the guide, you checked the console command get SKSE version, which would have proven that you installed those correctly. The second thing, though, is that SKSE plugins now, the plugins can also be the wrong version. So here we have a ton of plugins that all are saying the wrong version. Recently, there's been the development of the address library for SKSE plugins, and that is a common library that can be used so that when Skyrim updates to a new version, only one file needs to be updated, and all the plugins that use it will immediately be compatible. So let's go and take a look at that, and it's up here in the Essential SKSE plugins section, and you can see I messed up. I added the incorrect version of the address library. And I can prove that by right-clicking it, going to Information, File Tree, and when I open up the SKSE folder, you'll see that I've got version 1.580. So what I need to do is I need to go back and reinstall the correct version. And here it is. And you can see when I look at the file tree for this one, it's version 1.5.97. So that's the correct version. Now, when I go to try and load my game, SKSE will hopefully load those plugins correctly. The warning doesn't go away right away because it's generated from the SKSE log, and the log will only update when you try to rerun. So I guess here I again crashed, but my warning went down. So I fixed the script extender warnings, but I still don't load. So where do you go from here? So the first thing we did, we resolved missing masters. We resolved any script extender warnings that we had. The next step is to see whether or not you can even load the game on a vanilla profile. So if you switch your profile in MO2 back to the original vanilla one that we installed, this is the base game. If this doesn't load, then your game is borked. It doesn't work. You'll probably need to re-verify the integrity of files through Steam. Make sure that you have everything correct. Go back to Bethany and redo your ini files. It's possible that your inis have an incorrect setting in them. And you should be able to load at this point to the main menu. If you still can't in MO2, then you should try and load Skyrim outside of MO2, and you really should be able to load at that point. So once we've proven that we can load a vanilla profile, we're going to go back to our main Lexy profile. So failure to load is caused by only a few different things. One is an SKSE mismatch. We fixed the address library mismatch. Maybe there's another one hiding in here somewhere. The second reason is that you have a Legendary Edition plugin, and the guide uses a few of those, that has a BSA archive that has not been extracted. So if you're using any of those, it's not a choice. You have to extract the archive. And so we're going to double check that right now. If you go to Lexy's website and click on Guide, you can scroll down to the appendix. The appendix page is a lot of really useful information, and we're going to use it a couple times while troubleshooting here. It has all of the plugins that are associated with BSAs that need to be extracted. It has a list of the Legendary Edition BSAs that need to be extracted, anything that has an SKSE plugin, and if for some reason Skyrim is recently updated, it actually has instructions on how to roll back your game version to a prior version until SKSE updates to the newest version. So we're going to scroll to the LE BSAs section, and you can see there are 3 plugins that we need to address. And what we're going to do, we're just going to step through those one by one. So the first one was Enhanced Skyrim Factions, and in the left pane filter, if I start to type that, I'll narrow it down quickly. And here's Enhanced Skyrim Factions. You can see I forgot to extract the BSA. If I right-click, go to Information and File Tree, you can see that the BSA is still there. That's going to cause my game to crash. If I want to extract that archive, I can go to this right pane, choose Data, and then, choose Archives, and then find that plugin. Again, if I type EN, click in the right pane and type EN, it'll jump right to it. I can put my mouse over the check mark, right-click it, and choose Extract. Make sure that you're extracting it into the correct folder, and then go to that folder and delete the BSA. When you do it this way, it's not going to delete the BSA for you. You'll have to do it yourself. The other alternative would just be to right-click in the left pane and choose Reinstall Mod, and when prompted by the BSA extractor, choose Extract. So I am going to choose the version where I did do that correctly. Let's verify and take a look. Information file tree, and you can see the contents of that archive have been extracted. There's no BSA file there. It's an Legendary Edition plugin that's Form 43. I've gone back through my special instructions, made sure that it's converted to Form 44. And then we can see, am I able to load to the main menu? So if I still can't, then I'm going to step through each of those LE BSAs, make sure they're all extracted. And after you verified that, really the next thing is an SKSE mismatch. So there are not all of the SKSE plugins use address library. Some of them don't. And you can go back and reinstall each one, make sure that you have the right version, make sure that you have chosen the right options. But there are a lot of them, and it can take time to step through each of those. Doing that is most important at the time of a Skyrim version update from Bethesda. And that's just because not all of the plugins are updated at the same speed. But as more and more of them use the address library, hopefully that'll become faster. And you can see that, again, I don't make it into Skyrim. I crash to desktop, so there's another problem. And this time, we're kind of into this, like, okay, well, how do we find the last problem that's hiding in here? So what we're going to do is something that's called a binary search. We're going to start disabling mods in the left pane and try to load. And once we have disabled the broken mod, we will successfully load into the game. You can see I've got about 700 active mods, so I'm not going to do it one at a time. I'm just going to pick some arbitrary number about halfway through and see whether or not I'm able to load. And when you're disabling mods, you always do it from the bottom of your load order. That helps avoid the problem of missing masters. And when you re-enable from the top down. So before I start disabling everything, I'm going to disable the mods that are most likely to be problems. And that's my merged mods. So I'm going to find the merges. I'm going to highlight them all by shift clicking. And I'm going to right click and choose disable selected. Now, when that happens, if you look up here, I get a new warning in MO2. And because I've disabled some of the merges that are required by other files, I get a missing masters warning. And you can see these two files, the Omega conflict resolution file and Lexy's LOTD consistency patches merged, are now yelling for missing masters. So I also have to disable those. Here's the Omega conflict resolution. I'm going to disable that. Here's the consistency patches. I'm going to disable that. And you can see that I've now resolved my missing masters warning, and I can try to load through SKSE. If I did that in this situation, it turns out I would not be able to load. So I still haven't found the problem. If I was able to load, then I know that one of these merges I did wrong. So I'm going to start re-enabling them one at a time until I find the single broken mod. So if I still haven't found it, I'm going to keep disabling. I'm going to just pick some arbitrary part somewhere in the middle. Let's say here, this is the beginning of page 3, and I'm going to right-click and choose Disable Selected. Again, I get missing masters, which I will resolve. It looks like I need to disable Omega, Obscures, College, and the Flying Knight, so I can do that quickly. OB, here's Obscure, College of Winterhold. And the next is Omega. And the Flying Knight was the last one. There it is. By using the filter, you can quickly find the files that you're missing. And the last one is a patch for Obscure, which is the Flying Books patch. And now we've resolved our missing masters. So I'm just going to keep doing this until I find the problem mod. I'll cut to the chase, and it turns out this is the one that was broken for me. It was Storm Lightning, or the Minty Lightning. And in the choices during installation, well, here, I'll just show you. If you right-click and choose Reinstall Mod, you can see I have to choose Skyrim Special Edition, and then I have to choose my version of SSE that I'm using. And it turned out I clicked the wrong button. And I didn't realize that, and so I crashed. I kept crashing. So now I go back and I reinstall the correct version, and if I try and load in, I'm able to successfully load in. So once I do that, I have to re-enable all of my mods that I disabled previously. I can right-click and all mods, choose Enable All Visible, and then make sure that with everything loaded, everything proper, I now am successfully able to load to the main menu. So that's the basic approach to how to troubleshoot this. First, verify you don't have missing masters. Second, make sure that you can load a vanilla profile. 3, make sure that you don't have script extender warnings showing up in MO2. Next, verify you don't have LE BSAs that are unextracted. Next, make sure that you don't have an obvious SKSE mismatch. And then finally, perform a binary search until you find the problem mod. If you have any further questions or problems, come on over to Lexy's Discord, find the help desks. We're always happy to help, and I'll see you around the Discord.